I from Cringe to Creative. I'm Rachel Klaver. I'm just waiting for Leanne to show up. She's obviously running just a few minutes late, but I thought because we said we'd start at 12 o'clock, I would start at 12 o'clock. I like to start things on time because obviously your time is precious, and it means that we just get a bit of time while Leanne turns up just to kind of get things going and introducing things as well. So hopefully she'll be here really soon and we can get started, which is very exciting. I'm looking forward to talking to Leanne today about her observations around AI and ChatGPT. Now, before she comes on, I do want to just say, you know, we're both very pro ChatGPT and we're very pro. I'm just sending her the link again just to make sure she's got it. And so we're really pro using it. We use it. Both of us use it every day. We both teach people how to use ChatGPT, GPT-2. I'm Rachel Klaver, as a content marketing coach. Leanne also as a content writer and content coach as well. So we are really pro in using it, and I'm just hoping that she will be here soon. But we are going to be covering just a little bit of stuff around how to really tell what is good ChatGPT content, what is going on with some people where there's that kind of focus and structure, and how to really improve things really well. So it's really good for you if you've got questions or anything like that. You can obviously put them in the chat. I can't see it if it's on LinkedIn, but we can definitely be able to see that content in there. Oh, you can't hear anything, Hayley. Not too sure why that is. Let me just turn up my sound. That's not too sure why you can't hear it. I can't fix that, I'm afraid, Hayley, because I'm not too sure why you can't hear. I will just check my audio. It says, hang on, let me just check. Just checking that that's working now. That's potentially going to be working. Hopefully that's working. Let me know if that doesn't work. Otherwise, looking forward to having Leanne here soon and trying to see if she turns up. I start feeling nervous when I see us not having people here. Leanne's obviously running in a slightly different time frame to me. That's the problem with working in New Zealand and Australian time, isn't it? Yay, Ilana can hear, so that's all good news. Okay, while we wait for her, I'm going to ask you, and just checking in with you, is there other words that you have identified as words that you immediately can tell that someone has written something with ChatGPT, or if there's something in there? Because that can also really help. I'm just going to do this. Just wait for a moment. I'm just helping Leanne with a technical issue. So just let me just grab this and do that. She's going to be here in just a moment, which is awesome. Here we go. I'm doing that. Multitasking as it is and alive. It's always good to have things there. I've got you a link, Leanne. I just sent it to you. So I will just... I just sent one to you in the LinkedIn messages. Okay, so yay to see you. Lovely to see you. I wish I could work out how to put you in. I wonder if I can make you just like add you. No, I can't. Okay, that's okay. I can't do that. Okay. Yay, she's here. I just have to wait and see her come in, and we've got her. I'm looking forward to having you so much, Leanne. It'll be fantastic. So we're definitely going to be working on how to identify that kind of thing. Yeah, embrace, Margaret. I so agree. Embrace is one of those words you totally recognize as a word from it all the time. Every time I hear embrace, for me too, like I know ultimate's a really good word and I do sometimes use it, but if it's with embrace and ultimate, it's a dead giveaway that it's ChatGPT. My bugbear is the word elevate. Unfortunately, I've read it so much now in ChatGPT language, I now use it in my day-to-day conversations, which really disrupts me and disturbs me. So maybe that's going to be a problem moving on, but it is actually a word that I always go as soon as I have it. And one of the things that we're going to be talking about when we have when we have Leanne on is just how what can be happening with our brand if we're actually managing that. Hello, I've got her on. I'm just going to put it in here. Here we go. Welcome. It's
Hello.
I'm so sorry with the delay there. Technical difficulties, right?
Always my life.
That's okay. I know, and it's like, oh, actually, have I used this since early 2023? What is the really add people on as well? So I was just kind of like talking about some of the words that people notice and recognize with ChatGPT as being like a ChatGPT word. But do you want to, before we jump in, like I haven't introduced myself either, or you, do you want to jump in and just, I kind of said what you do, but do you want to tell everyone who you are and what you do?
Sure. Thanks, Rachel. So hey, everyone. So my name's Leanne Shelton. I am a human copywriter and ChatGPT trainer / speaker. I pretty much gave myself that title, I think probably end of April last year, because my copywriting agency that I've had for over 9 years now was starting to, lag, not see as many conversions that it used to, and new as economic climate, but also this whole free tool ChatGPT was a massive thing. So I figured throw myself in the deep end. I've always loved doing training as well, so I thought this can be my focus for training, and taught myself as much as I could. Ran my first webinar, like gave myself a month, I think, ran my first webinar, had like 150 people register. I'm like, okay, I'm onto something here. And then, it's kind of kicked off. And last year, I probably like 30 different speaking gigs in about 6 months. It was
amazing.
Insane.
Can I ask a question? Because both of us have got like a content and a marketing background. And one of the biggest fears people have with ChatGPT, and I think it's quite good us looking at this like a year out from the big explosion of it, was that it was going to kill copywriting because there would never be a need for another copywriter again. I've got my own view on this, but what's your take on that viewpoint now, looking at it a year later?
Yeah, I think it definitely, it's a matter of, you don't know what you don't know. Garbage in, garbage out, all these, catchphrases, basically.
Yeah.
Copywriters know, and content marketers know what the outcome is ultimately.
Yeah.
So that they know what input, what prompts to put in to get what they want. And they know when what it spits out is poor quality. They can recognize it.
Yeah.
But if you
know what good looks like and what bad looks like. Yeah.
Yeah. If you have no idea, you're just relying on this tool to be correct, and it's still very early days. So I'm telling all copywriters, I've spoken to a few in different sessions as well, train yourself up like I did. You don't have to actually become a trainer, but at least be an advisor. You might be doing more editing work of what crappy ChatGPT stuff people send you. So if you understand it, you can then educate people. So I see our role kind of changing, but then also there'll be people who realize, oh, I can't just spit out a whole article or website content in 5 minutes. There actually is a lot of work involved in terms of prompting it, in terms of tweaking it, making it sound human. And then a lot of people will probably just get fed up and go, oh, actually, we'll just pay the experts to do it. So we might have a little comeback.
Yeah. And I think, do you also think that, when we talk about that thing of what does good look like, do you think there is still, like I see when I work with clients who aren't copywriters, who are business owners, who aren't confident with their own voice or understanding it, they get enamored with the fact that they compress do a couple of questions and it spits out these sentences. And on the surface, if you don't read it deeply, it does look perfect. Like if you just read it and you go, far out, this is generally grammatically correct. It's got some cool big words in it that I wouldn't normally use. And I think it does make you feel like you're going to be looking put together.
See, that's the thing. I'm actually becoming, I've noticed, very critical of everything I read now, because I'm always like, has this been put through AI? Like, is this, so, I read an article this morning and I was like, I can tell that's AI. Oh, hang on, there's some research thrown in there. Okay, good. They've done the extra work, but I can still tell a lot of stuff. Like, I just saw the comments, Americanized spelling, and they're based in Australia. So I'm like, that is a big giveaway. Really long sentences as well. Like there's just 5 commas. Quite often it's AI generated, and there's some little phrases as well that I'm, like, I'm not like unlock. I'm seeing so many headings, unlock, or in this digital age or similar. And I'm so critical.
I did some brainstorming with a client. We were talking things through, and we were trying to like find a bunch of like, we're doing some keyword research, not because you can't with ChatGPT, you can't do search volumes, but you can do like clusters and then go back and search. So it's quite a good brainstorming thing. But I've just put this one on. This is an example of a blog title. Elevate your brand without lifting a finger. Expert social media management tailored for busy entrepreneurs. And immediately I go, ChatGPT.
Yeah,
like I would never think it was written by someone that wasn't a machine.
So look, they're probably given the crack in terms of putting the audience in as a prompt.
Yes.
And probably said busy entrepreneurs. So 100%
Yes.
it's used that phrase, busy entrepreneurs. I feel myself being so critical. And I know it seems ironic that I'm a trainer in AI, yet I'm critical of it. But ultimately, my whole take on it is to ensure we maintain our sense of humanity. And we don't lose that. We're still using it as a tool, a collaborative tool. We're not getting lazy and relying on it to replace us. Because everyone is focused on the efficiency and productivity kind of aspect, but quality is so much more important, and human connection, the message actually landing, is way more important than saying, look, I smashed out 6 months worth of blogs in an hour or less. It's so much more important to get, okay, see it as a starting point. Great, now I'm going to build upon that. Get it to give you plans, strategies, whatever behind the scenes. No worries with that, because no one sees it. But anything that's going to go out into the external world, you need to make sure it still sounds like you and it's actually going to hit home with your audience. I'm sorry, like I said, I can pick up really quickly when people are putting up effort in. So
Now we're going to be doing a webinar, and I'm going to put a link to it actually in here. It's coming up next month, and we're going to actually talk about how to create a brand voice. But I thought I would talk a little bit, just a question around this, because you and I when we had a conversation around it, one of the things that we talked about was we actually talked about how we can identify when someone's using ChatGPT, and our brain is starting to switch off when we see that content. Now, we're content writers. Do you think that, I think it was you and I were talking about it, but there was a study that came out that's saying that people are that brains actually can tell, even if we can't tell and it sounds good, when our brain is reading it from someone else, there's something going on. Is that right?
Yeah, I some sort of sixth sense to it. That's the thing. And I'm having this little argument on LinkedIn the other day with someone, because basically someone had posted saying she had put a job ad out, and all these cover letters were coming in, obviously written by AI. And this guy was trying to say, but because it was for a writing job, and he said, well, don't you want the quality there? So therefore, that's a good thing. And I was saying, well, no, we want them, not AI, like bots writing it. And he goes, how do you prove it? And I'm like, actually, there's little things like I said before, long sentences or certain words, or just some emptiness to it, like it's shallow, or too many exclamation marks, or I've seen some LinkedIn comments which I can just sense have been put through AI, because
I've definitely had that too. Yeah, the good old Chrome extension that you can use for people to do comments for you. And I feel I'm seeing it, a couple of places I'm seeing it most is people that have the place I'm seeing it most is I'm seeing that people that I thought would I'm not going to say know better, but I felt were people that were leaders in their industry have seemed to lose confidence in their own voice and are using the ChatGPT to create their content, because it's somehow they're no longer confident in what they can do. And I feel a little bit heartbroken by it, because I'm like, honestly, your less than perfect English way of saying things, or the weird grammatical errors you make and things like that, were speaking to me so much more than this perfectly polished machine created thing that has all the power words in it that we're told to use because they give a better breakthrough.
Yeah, I don't even know. It could be partly confidence. I think also all these influencers are in massive hustle mode constantly. So they're like, because I went to one of these, it was like $50 for an AI event in the city, which was really disguised as a sales pitch for his, boot camp, which hadn't previously covered AI at all, but he was going to throw that in, and I could see right through it. But it's just he was saying, oh yeah, usually we do this, and now you can smash out this much content. Instead, usually we work on one ebook, and this week because of AI, we can smash out 5. So I'm worried a lot of these hustle mode people are like, oh, just look, we can grow even more because we have all these AI tools that can just, do all these things.
Yeah.
And I mean, as it is, all these people have their own teams behind them, behind the scenes anyway. But suddenly, if they're throwing the AI voice, they're just going to lose it. They're going to disconnect because we're all going to sense what they're doing. There was a post from Neil Patel, which seemed very much AI written, that another AI person had a rant about, and I chimed in. And it's true. Like, even these big names are now jumping on, all their teams are. Oh, look at this. But no, it's really, really quality over quantity. I just look, honestly, as well, the best engagement I get on LinkedIn posts are the ones that I throw together in 15 minutes off a musing, a thought, a random thought. They're the ones that take off rather than scheduled tips, robotic hints, quotes, whatever.
Well, and I'll be really honest. I'm not against scheduling. Like, nearly all my LinkedIn's scheduling, because often when I'm working with clients, is the best time to post. So, but they're all written by me. So, like, there's a difference here. So we're not saying that bit's wrong. Like, obviously, like, the flow often is better if you're just spontaneous, but it's not that. But it is that thing of going, I need to have this amount of content. I'm going to use I'm going to use ChatGPT to write it all. Do you think, though, that people that are doing it and going, oh, that sounds good, do you think they don't have a strong awareness of their voice? Because, like, we're going to show in the webinar how you can really use your voice to do it. But if ChatGPT, like, if I've given it material and I've asked it exactly what to do, I can tell within the first 2 sentences if it hasn't followed my style. And I'll stop it and go, I told you, and I get quite stroppy now. I used to be, please, overlord, please, and I'm like, I told you to write it in my style, tone, and voice. You've been given the material. Please go back and reread it again and rewrite this. They do it. Yeah, not quite good enough. Please go back and rework it using my stone, tone, and voice. I've given you the material. And then suddenly I get this thing. It's still not 100%, but it's pretty much there. And I feel like, I think it's also this thing of going, if I give them content, I'll just trust whatever they do as well.
Yeah, no, I'm also same as well. No, try that again. You did it really well in this section. Do that section, do that again. Or what are you doing? Why are you changing the format? We want these pages consistent, or whatever. Yeah, 100%. So that's the thing. But I know what I'm doing with it, so I know how to prompt it to then get what I want. The brand voice, because you 100%. Look, people see me at networking events, and how I speak is exactly how I write as well. So I do recommend to people, if you are going to use AI to write it, read it out loud. And if you're stumbling over anything, then it's not your natural voice. And, throw in fun phrases that you use. Like, it doesn't have to sound all formal. I know some people still get caught up with LinkedIn having to sound formal or whatever. If that's not how you speak, then no, change it up. But yeah, look, it's great as a starting point for AI. With AI, just don't go, yeah, you know what, that's halfway decent, I'm going to just publish it, because people, what we've seen previously, will see through it, or when they get on the phone with you, they'll be like, I've been following you for 6 months, and the disconnect between what I'm seeing online and who I'm hearing from now, and you don't want that.
It's kind of like being on a dating profile. My husband said I have to stop using dating analogies, because he said, also, I'm a bit worried about the amount of dating analogies he's using. But it's kind of like being on a dating profile, and, you're like, oh, that guy's great. And then you meet them and they're like 20 years older than their photo. It's kind of like that disconnect. It's like, not the same person.
There's someone like that. I met someone at a conference, another AI influencer, really hit it off. Like, he was like the best part of the conference. We would like pick each other's brains. It was great. And then I started watching his content, and I knew also how he created it, because he told me, oh, it's got this cool trick of the formulas and all that. And I just started to get bored of his content. I'm like, this isn't the same energy. Like, it's just missing the mark. And so that's what I'm talking about there. So then I've just kind of lost faith in, potentially collaborating or whatever. So you want to make sure it's all very consistent.
So one of the things that we're going to talk about in the webinar, which I think is really good, is a little bit about the difference between ChatGPT 4 and ChatGPT 3. We might not be covering that much, but like we are going to be talking about how ChatGPT 4 makes things easier. Do you just want to give a little bit of a rundown? Because we both use it, and I know lots of people don't pay for it. And both of us would go 100% it's worth paying for that ChatGPT, like for access for what it can do. But what are some key differences between the two so that people can kind of go, oh, that makes sense?
Yeah, so when I first launched the paid one, I would have said don't bother. But now, definitely, I couldn't go back. You can, by the way, when you do upgrade, you can switch between the two versions, just if you want to experiment with prompts, and because sometimes I feel like the responses are better in the free one.
Yeah.
But the in the paid one, it now has access to real-time internet, which the free one doesn't. So the free one, you're relying on what's been built, what's been trained up into the system. And I think we're up to last heard April 23. I don't know if that's
might have even been
September.
October 23. Maybe I got that recently. I don't know. Like I think I asked a question about something, but or July or something. It's always updated.
Yeah, it's still out. Yeah, it still can't access real-time internet. So that can affect like research and things, because that means if you do want to, and I do recommend this, write a piece, you do your research, you have to then literally copy and paste it all into the prompt. But with the paid one, you can just say, I want to write an article, I want you to use these resources, and insert the links to those articles. And you can say only use these sources to refer to, don't go on your own tangents. So then you can reference them and you know where it's come from, and you can then cross-check and double-check it's correct. So that you can do with a paid one, you can't do with free. Also with the paid one, you have access to DALL-E, which is an image creation thing, which may not be a big deal for you, but it's great. It's not great with words. Anyone who follows me on LinkedIn, I attempted something recently and botched up absolutely every word. Not great with words, but for imagery, like for socials, you can put in what you want to match an article you just written, and it could come something quite nice.
That's cool.
That's cool.
Yeah. And one of the things with ChatGPT 4 around that, like you put the links in, but I think my favorite thing is that you can upload files like PDFs.
Yes.
So you can read PDF.
Yeah, and that's great. So once again, like as a resource, you go, okay, I'd like you to look at these links and also this document. It could be a massive report, for example, that you want to summarize, or you need to summarize for your boss or for a client or whatever it is. That can help you massively. So you can upload files and then you get it to, be specific though on what you want to do with it. You could just initially ask for it to tell you the brand voice from these documents and links. Or it could be, I want you to provide 5 key points on this topic, and then, and use these as the sources. But yeah, that's great. And it's just, once again, you can't do the uploading thing for the free. You have to do copy and paste, which for like a 50-page document, you can't do.
Yeah, and one of the things that I know we talked about this before, I tell my clients is like I save all my newsletters in a doc, and so I can put those up and then ask ChatGPT to pull out things that I can then use in other content. But it's my voice, it's my words, it's already done. So it's more like turning it into a repurposing tool in many ways rather than a initial start from scratch situation.
Correct. And actually, I ran a training session the other day for an author, and she is about to start running workshops and wants to use the content from her book for the workshop format. So literally, she uploaded the manuscript and said, can you create a plan for a 2-day workshop? And it started creating it. And she said, refer to this chapter. And then it started mapping it all out. And that's brilliant. So now she can go and flesh it out, or, say, okay, now can you create a script or recommendations for the presentation based on that, and go from there. So that is amazing use of it.
Yeah, and I think that's where that voice for people who are wanting to be thought leaders and people who are wanting to be respected in their business works really well. I wonder what would happen if you have started with ChatGPT and you've got your list of newsletters, but they've all been created pretty much with ChatGPT and not enough of your voice. And then you lift that up and put that into ChatGPT. Like, I wonder what carnage could happen if you did it that way around. Like, I think this is what we're trying to say is like, if you don't start with original voice, we're going to get into trouble, right?
It's interesting. I did see this post the other day on LinkedIn. I was yesterday, and this guy had written some copy, spent half a day, all honestly written by himself, and his client put it through an AI checker. And apparently it came back as saying 60% AI generated, even though he honestly created himself.
Wow.
And they're like, can you just run this through ChatGPT and just, check? And it's another tool as well, and check. And so he ran what he wrote through ChatGPT, sent it back to them, and then it came back saying 10% AI written or something stupid. And it just made him go, so hang on a second. So don't trust those checkers either, by the way, if you're going to rely upon that. I don't think they're there yet. There's a lot of teachers relying upon them, but he'd honestly written this himself. And so I don't know. I didn't see the actual content and the difference, but then the client was happy then with the stuff that had been re-put through AI. And hilarious. It's just, probably because they're just relying upon the checker thing. And they're like, oh, I don't trust you.
Yeah. I when I started seeing people with what I knew was obviously ChatGPT, I would actually go and ask ChatGPT if it had been written by AI. And it was really interesting because it would give me two responses. One would be, this was written by a human. So it would actually say that because it could tell. And the other one would say it is not got enough evidence to know whether it's been done by a human or AI, which was my answer for it's done by AI.
Yeah.
And that's the only ones that would never say this was written by AI, but that's what it will. If you ask it, it can actually tell. So I thought it was interesting.
Yeah. So I just, for your own sake, I just recommend putting enough effort in so then you can see, like, you might know, I know that this bit was taken from AI.
Yeah.
I don't know if we need to start recognizing, like doing asterisks or certain things, or written by AI. I don't know, but I've always. I'm just trying to get critical. I'm putting this lens of everything I read now, and then I'm straight away losing trust if I pick up they haven't put enough effort in. If they put enough effort in, and I'm like, can tell some parts with AI, but I can also tell you put effort in, then that's okay. It's just the ones that have been blatantly,
So I've got a question for those people, because I work with quite a lot of small business owners who, when I talk to them, I can hear their passion, I can hear their voice, but they have a real difficulty of understanding what their brand voice is because they're not a writer and they freak out that they're having to do content. How can they use ChatGPT in a really positive way to kind of work out, like, what is the steps? What do they have to do stuff before they even get to ChatGPT?
For their brand voice?
Yeah, to find, like, and we're going to talk about brand voice and identifying that in the webinar, but is there stuff that they've got to do beforehand, or can they use ChatGPT to kind of work some of the stuff out as well? Like, what's kind of like their kind of like starter thing if they don't know what their brand voice is? What are some safe, I guess what I'm saying is, what are some safe ways for them to use ChatGPT that could help step them towards doing something that was more them rather than just ChatGPT?
Yeah, so a little quick thing, and I can go into more detail on the webinar, is to grab some samples of writing that you have done that you feel sounds like you.
Yeah.
Assuming there is something out there, even if it's just like little social media posts or whatever, just something, and basically pasting them into, if you're obviously the free or providing links, if paid, and just pasting them in and saying, could you please review these pieces of content and let me know what the writing style is, including, tone of voice, structure, etc. And then straight away, it should give you just an outline. Sometimes it gives me, ask the exact same thing. That's dot points sometimes, a massive paragraph, but ask for subheadings just so you get a nice little layout. And then go from there, because it may say you're conversational and professional with a nurturing, and nurturing. And you might go, but that's not really what I want to go for. So you might play around with a couple of extra words and then use that in the custom instructions, which is, in your profile, bottom left corner, for all the content to go through that lens. It's not always perfect. It does forget. And maybe you're not actually content with that writing that you do. And you're like, I don't really want this to be my voice. Maybe English is a second language or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So in that case, think about some words to describe what you do want your brand to represent, and then, you know, plug those into the custom instructions and see what it does from there.
Yeah. And do you think that, like, so I guess I'm also trying to say, like, because you and I can recognize our voice, we've got certain things that we would say, or we can immediately sit in it. But if someone doesn't know that, because it can be really easy to get quite, it's kind of like ChatGPT love bombs us with cool words, and then we go, oh, this makes me sound so good, and so you go, I could possibly sound as good as this. Your thing that you say is read it out loud, because when you read it out loud, it won't sound like you.
Yes, correct. If read it out loud, if it feels comfortable, great. Another idea I thought was you could ask people, you know, I've seen this happen on, you know, Facebook groups and stuff before. What are 3 words you use to describe me, you know, in terms of my style, personality? Because personality and brand voice kind of all overlap, right? So me, it might be, you know, articulate and bubbly and funny. I think I'm funny.
Yeah.
So those could be the words
I think you're funny too, Leanne.
So those are
I don't know about you, but when you're doing speaker stuff, you're always like, I'm going to put that I'm funny, but I always want to say, well, some people think I am, because I'm really worried I'm going to turn up and I'm going to say something, and the rest of the people are going to be like, nope, she's not funny.
They're either laughing with you or at you, either way.
Yeah.
I'll go for whatever. But yeah, that's the thing. So you can also do that, a little call out to your community. You can send DMs if you don't want to make it public, and just ask for some people some words, because sometimes you're too close as well. And this is also assuming you are like a solopreneur and your business is you and you're very much aligned with that. Or if you are going bigger and you're like, okay, no, I want it, then it's probably easier to disconnect yourself a little bit from that. But when very much your business is you, then that can be helpful. Just asking other people too close to this, how would you describe my personality and my brand? And then you can kind of pick and choose certain words. You can then go, all right, ChatGPT, and experiment with it. Pick 5 of those words, because sometimes 5 gets you a much stronger draft than 3 of the words, even if you think they're similar. So even if it's like casual and conversational, I've experimented and having both of those versus one or the other, different tone.
Yeah.
So it's different. Yeah, it's interesting. So just plug them all in and then see what that first draft looks like. And it might be way too, you know, way too much jargon, not jargon. What's the opposite? You know, just words that you, just, you know, words you would never use. Oh, you know, especially if you say Australian, you know, goes on, g'day mate, and throws in all these.
Oh yeah, no, I did one with Kiwi stuff, and it was great. Like I said, right now in New Zealand, and it's like, g'day mate, how's the old Barbie? And I was like, I'm not going to put that in a post, but it was kind of cool that it gave it a try, and I quite like the way that it actually peppered Māori words in through, because I was like, oh, at least I like understanding that that's kind of part of how we communicate when we're talking, and you know that there might be mana there, and so I kind of like that. But I did think, oh gosh, yeah, this is definitely like going with what the Americans think that Kiwi speaking is not what our Kiwi speaking actually is.
Yes, remember, it's through that lens. So it's only can do what it's been trained to do. So you have to kind of retrain it a little bit, and you can say, but not like this, but like this. And so you can put all that in your custom instructions. Don't use words like this. Use words like this. Here are some typical phrases I would use, and then it would, you know, incorporate those. That kind of stuff too. So it's just there's another strategy as well. Yeah, I'll go more into the webinar, but there's a few things you can do just if you're unsure to begin with, and also just to train it up. So it does give you that first strong draft, not the full thing.
No, I love that. So we are going to be going quite deep into that during the webinar, which would be really awesome. I thought, well, people might have some questions for you, so they can definitely ask in the chat. But while they're doing that, I thought we could talk about just both of us sharing maybe like ways that we use ChatGPT that aren't necessarily writing content, but make writing content maybe easier or more polished. And we might have little hacks that we could share that are really simple things to get people away from just going, I need to use it to write a blog, or I need to use it to write a social media post, because it won't really fit with what we're doing in the webinar. But I think it would be quite interesting to maybe share a few of those. Do you have some that are your favorites?
I'm just experimenting for all different things. I'm doing TAFE at the moment, so for college for training assessment, so I can basically officially be a teacher from the next year. And so I've actually got it to help me with planning like lesson plans and assessment.
I love that.
And all that kind of stuff.
That's
So
really cool. It is good for that.
ultimately,
We're planning out webinars and like that sort of side. Like actually the structure, like I find structure quite tricky to get my head around. We've both got ADHD. So that getting that structure and just having that, and then I can block it out can be really useful.
yeah. So I've got coming up at the end of the month, I'm going to Kuala Lumpur, which is very exciting, to run a 2-day workshop on my own for, I don't know, 10, 15 people.
Amazing.
So I've only really done like maybe a 4-hour workshop before, and yeah, so 2 days. So rather than getting overwhelmed with the whole process, I plugged in ChatGPT. Okay, I used a previous schedule they sent over as an example with the time frame, time blocking, and everything like that. And I uploaded that, and I said, okay, referring to this schedule, as an example, here's my topic. I want to make sure there's a fun activity first thing in the morning to, wake people up, or discussion points, some sort of fun activity after lunch. And look, honestly, I probably end up going back and going, all right, can you give 5 more ideas for activities after lunch and whatever? But yeah, it gave me a really nice first starting point for my 2-day, which just seems so massive for me as a brand new concept. And then I'm like, great, okay, I like that, don't like that. I can, that's got some promise. Go back. Can you give me some more ideas along this line, these lines and all that kind of stuff. So then I've got, then I've gone back and tweaked it again and again. But as that starting point, oh my gosh, I could have just done my brain and going, okay, so it's 10 a.m. now.
I know. I think that's where it takes that emotional weight of the organizational structure off you, which gives you room to be creative and using your knowledge, your actual knowledge, which I think is really. Margaret asked about, ideas of coming up with ideas for posts and blogs. You've probably got heaps of these, but I'll tell you one of the things that I've done recently that really helped me. I was creating something and I was a bit stuck, and I wanted to make sure that I was kind of pulling in the latest knowledge as well. So I said to ChatGPT, hey, I'm a content marketing coach. This is my kind of skew or bent around what I do and my ethos. Can you pull together with me, like give me the 7 other leading names in my industry around the world and kind of the themes of what they're talking about, like the things that they're talking about. And it went through and it went, like this person here, and these are the 3 themes here. And then I went, I like this one. Can you please give me some topics around posts or blogs I could do around that theme? And that was amazing. And coming up with stuff that I was like, well, these are what industry leaders are writing. They've got whole marketing teams working out the shit that they need to say. And I'm using their marketing teams for my little old business, which I thought was actually really effective. Do you have other ones that you do for kind of idea generation with ChatGPT?
Yes, I was going to say something. I've gone blank what it was. Oh my gosh, what was it now? I definitely have I asked it to help with planning. Oh, actually, you know what I did? I asked it yesterday to help me make a decision between 2 things.
Oh, I love that idea.
Yeah.
I'm going to do that. I'm going to have to try and decide what I'm going to do my ideas on. That's a good idea.
It was ultimately, I'd heard about a book collaboration idea, which look, ADHD, shiny things just keep lighting up, right?
Oh,
so
shiny things
I just plugged in, is this a good idea? Considering I also want to write my own book. I've also, recovering from some burnout, blah, blah. Yeah. And then it gave me all these pros and cons. And I'm like, okay, yeah, but then I added some more things. What if, blah, blah, blah. And then in the end, I'm like, okay, what's your recommendation? And you know what? It kind of just gave me permission. It convinced me in the end. I'm like, no, I knew all this stuff, but just having someone.
I love that.
Really neutral.
I do feel like I've started really using it as a sounding board. When I did that thing with the 7 people, I went, actually, I've had this idea for this lead gen and I was thinking about doing this. And I kind of like using it as a brainstorming kind of, it's kind of like having like a colleague in the room and just asking questions. And then I go, I don't really understand what you meant by this. Can you explain it? Or I don't like the way you said that. And so I've got this document, which has got my this cool future lead gen idea I've had and like a thing around building something, and it will kind of go, oh yeah, what a great idea. What about if you did this? And you feel like you've got this kind of collaboration going on between you and this robot. And that's fun.
Yeah, because I did it for this new offering I've got coming out, and I said, I need help with sales page, template. Here's all the key information.
Yes.
Can you create that template? And then it did. And then I said, okay, is there any other information I'm missing or you're missing to do the best possible job? What else do you need?
I like that.
Yeah. What else? And it's like, the USP. I'm like, selling point. I'm like, oh my God, yeah, okay, sure, okay. And so it gave me like 5 different things. And I just responded to it. and just things I'd overlooked. And yeah, great, thank you. And then I fleshed it out. And I still moved things around, but it gave me that really strong starting point. And so now my next step is going to be, okay, I can now use that sales landing page that I've done and upload it. Now help me with an email sequence. Pretend you're an expert and conversion copywriter and what's the best template for those 3 days, and what schedule do you recommend? So that's what I'm going to do the next couple of days. And I know that it will give me, a rough guideline. Also, I've got my marketing hat on, so I can go, I don't think sending it 2 days in a row or within an hour of each other, it's going to work here, or whatever it happens. But that will just clear that brain fog going, overwhelmed with all the promotion I have to do. And it kind of repurpose, because everything is basically in that sales page. I spent so much time writing it. So then I'll go, can you help me create some social media posts, extract from that page? And like we were saying before, the repurposing thing. So that's my next plan of how I plan to use it.
Because that's what I think I'm learning, is that if you can get that source content really, really good and sharp and very much in your own voice, it makes the repurposing far closer. I do have a question from Fiona. She talked about, she says, I noticed Microsoft Copilot appears to be using ChatGPT 4 and it's free. Have you tried that compared to what ChatGPT 4 gives you? Now, I haven't tried Microsoft Copilot. I don't use Microsoft. I use Google. Do you know?
I haven't experimented with enough myself either. I've had that little icon pop up on my screen, but kids only just went back to school last week, so I'm only really properly into work mode now.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
I do want to experiment with it, but I do wonder, how will it have all the same features of ChatGPT 4, because OpenAI ultimately doesn't want people to not pay for their stuff. So I'd be curious. It may have certain aspects, but not others.
Yeah, I would say that would be accurate, and slower, and probably have a limit. Like I know, like Metrical, for example, is you can write your post by AI, but you can only do 3 free a month. So it's like, what's the point if you're doing over 100 posts a month? It's not going to work for me. So I feel like a lot of them, those ones that are add-ons, don't necessarily work very well. But I always think it's good to go. I'm a bit of a stickler for going straight to the source as opposed to the person that's tacked it on.
Yeah, look, that's part of my other thing with, I mentioned shiny object syndrome. After, ChatGPT kind of was launched, there's probably thousands and thousands of AI tools have sprung up over the last 12 months, right? And that's the thing, you can get bogged down in trying all the things and, actually doing the opposite of productivity and going down rabbit holes, or especially if you have to subscribe or pay for these, you end up paying for things you don't need. They all look amazing, but for my own sake, I have just kept with ChatGPT, like the OG, to then, and things are coming to it now. So, the live access, and the real time and the imagery. And I'm like, if I can but the essence is there, right? If you can really master how to use that, then you can kind of work out what other tools you actually need in your business too, not just, like, I'm still not convinced why a video avatar of myself, like a fake me, how that actually is cool. How
I know.
implement that in my business when it's losing authenticity, and I don't.
Yeah, and it's not going to be you. Like, it's still not going to be you. Like, it's kind of cool and fun, but is it going to actually get you customers that are your ideal customers?
And I know that if like, we can smash all these training videos and it's all you, just your avatar. Well, are people going to trust it and connect with it as much as if it was you and you put the effort in? Like, I read somewhere, if you couldn't put the effort in to write it, why should I put the effort in to read it or listen to it or whatever, right?
Such a good thing to say. I agree with that, though. Like, I feel disappointed when I'm reading something and go, like, I might get caught up in the first paragraph because I might have tweaked that, and then I start reading and go, this is just ChatGPT's schlock, and I feel like, hey, you just ripped off some of my time, and it turns me off. Like, I think my biggest one, actually, when I think about it, is because for years gone by, like, I've accepted that some people write really crappy blogs because they have this idea that they've got to have these blogs. But it's when it's an email in my inbox or it's a post and I'm reading it and going, this wasn't you. And I'm so disappointed because I actually like hearing from you. I love your brand. I love seeing what you do. I love your thoughts. And this is not your thoughts. It might be stuff but it's not the way that you would explain it. And that's what I'm following. That's what I signed up to your email list for. And that's the bit where I feel you're missing and you're getting that cringe factor as opposed to making me bond with you.
Yeah.
And that's what that's what we're going to be focusing on in the webinar, is really about that building a powerful brand, because we're saying there's nothing wrong with using ChatGPT to build your brand, right? Like, there's absolutely nothing wrong to do that. It's just doing it in a way that works.
Correct. And there's all these little techniques, like we were saying, the collaboration kind of mindset. If you think of it more like that as another member of your team that you work with, but ultimately you're still putting effort in, then that's okay. It's just so many people, I think, just because they haven't been educated, that it's jumping on going, and then it's blown away by how cool it is and how quickly it pumps stuff out and how much time they're going to save. They're not actually looking at the long term of 6 months worth of content, which is AI generated. They're going to drop off with conversions or engagement because people just see right through it, as we also become extra savvy to it too. So even, I've seen some people in Facebook groups, I wrote this article on this latest update from OpenAI, and ultimately they're just taken the original article and just put it in ChatGPT so it has slightly their voice, but you could still tell there was no extra substance to it. And so don't even, go, look, I know my brand voice now, I'm just going to put someone else's article in and just get to redo it. That's also not the right answer, because you've also got your own thoughts, and the internet will otherwise just be this whole mishmash of exactly same recycled content. I know there's no, original ideas are very, rare, because everything is
right? Like there's always an original technique take, and we can say, like, I have tested my creativity against ChatGPTs, where I've gone, hey, I use an analogy of a goat climbing a tree, and that everyday activity with how you describe your business and how it can be, talk about your everyday life. And I give them the full story about the goat and the tree. And I do this, I say, can you tie these two together? And it will say, I don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I know how to do that.
Yeah. So
I can literally give them the story, or they'll go, wow, that was a really novel way of explaining it. And they'll go, oh, that was really interesting. And I'm like, yeah, because I'm using my human brain right now.
Yeah. On that note, I did have someone come to me, one of my only disgruntled clients who did ChatGPT training, because she had expectations far beyond what it's actually capable of.
Yeah.
So it wasn't me she was upset with. It was actually, she had an idea. She asked me if it could help her with book writing. Like, yeah, sure it can. It can help with editing. It can review things. It can give you tips. No, she'd written one chapter and wanted to write the rest of the book for her based on that one chapter.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, no. And she was saying it was an original concept. And I'm like, well, then how can it possibly create all those chapters for you on an original concept you've come up with? So she was very upset, but I'm like, it can give you the structure, based on that first chapter. It can give you some ideas of how the rest of the book can go. It can't write it for you. And she's like, but what? So there are, I've already seen that. I know some kids' books have been written purely AI, and then spat out an imagery they've done with Mid-Journey or whatever. It's like, no, don't use, we're saying you're cringe to creative. Don't lose your sense of creativity. Stay connected with that, but use more, I guess, critical thinking, creativity with prompting it and working with it, not just because the movie WALL-E, their brains turn to mush.
That's such a great example of what happens when AI takes over your world.
Yeah, we're all just we don't have to think now. I just want to change my color of my clothes. Yeah, cool. I don't. Oh, look, we have a pool. I know we had a pool. We don't need to do like all this. We're just going to stop thinking properly for ourselves and going, and then that's not going to serve anyone in the world who you're serving with your clients, like yourself, because you're not stimulating your brain. And this is where, we're basically at this cusp right now. We as humans can decide the future of AI. Is it going to be replacing us, which is all these fear factors that all these, social media posts and things, AI is going to replace all these jobs. Is it going to replace us, or is it always going to be our bitch? Are we always going to be in control of it? It's our choice right now. And I know there's people developing stuff going, isn't it cool if we could do all these things to save time for us? But they're not thinking the repercussions. What's it gonna, end up like? So we get to choose how we use it, and then teach our children and children's children the ethical way.
I love that. Because I was actually going to say that probably a good analogy of what ChatGPT does. I've got a client who makes Indian paste, Person, if you're watching, hi Person. And one of the things she said is like she would ask it to write a recipe. She knows enough about recipes. It looks right on the surface. Like if I was looking at it, I'd probably go, oh, that's right. But she could immediately go, that's not going to work. And so I always think of that and look at that like a post. It looks right on the surface. Everything's kind of ticking the boxes, but it's not till you actually look at it deeply that you go, actually, it's missed the nuance that makes the thing a beautiful recipe or is actually going to work. And I think that's what we're trying to say, isn't it? That to get it to that creative space, to make it work, we have to really understand our knowledge, like what we know, and understand our voice and understand who we are before we jump in and hope that ChatGPT is going to make that for us. It's the expert's tool, but you have to come to it as an expert.
Correct. This is why I get worried when I hear about people cutting out the copywriters from their team, or we'll just get out to write our blogs now. From now on, we're not going to use you. And this is a concern because unless the person operating the tool knows what they're doing, it's just going to be poor quality. So that's, I'm transparent with my clients. I say, yeah, look, I'll probably use AI, but I know how to use it effectively for you, like how to make sure it does an even better job than me in some points, but I'm still trusting that I know what I'm doing to bring that in. And that's what, you'll probably read a lot of, look, there's already been some very clickbaity, lacking substance articles before Chatty came along. You can see those journalists are going to be also using AI, and it's going to sound the same as that. But it needs more storytelling. It needs more depth to really connect. That human connection thing is just so much more important. Someone I know who was using AI to respond to posts, I said it's missing something. I think it's just that human touch. It's just it's kind of taking my post and rehashing it a little bit. It sounds like it's engaging what I said, but really it's not quite there. And I actually had the assumption that these posts were written by AI, and then I had a meeting and he admitted it before I brought it up. And I'm like, good, I could tell. But I don't want to be going around sending DMs to everyone going, you've used AI too much. Like, a part of me wants to.
I'm so tricky. If it's really bad and I know the person, I normally and I know they've got a relationship with me, they'll cope. Like, this would not be for everybody. But a couple of times I've either messaged them and said, oh, see, we're trying out the old AI trick, are we? Or a couple of times I've gone, nice, I think this guy Regan, I was like, nice AI post today, Regan. And he's like, oh, yeah, haha, yeah, that's right. Because it's so obvious. Like, some of them are like, if it's got the emojis in it and it's got the words. I was actually just the phrase femini, like the phrase femini, like it's like when that's a friend, but they're actually an enemy. Because I feel like AI is the femini of content marketing. Like, it feels like it's your friend, but it's actually your enemy because it's undermining your brand voice all the time, because it looks like it's saying nice things about you, but it's saying them in a way that's actually undermining your authority.
It is good. You got to watch out for it. That's the thing. And just to be aware, like, train yourself up, understand its limitations. And yes, there's opportunities. I think some people are caught up in that, but not looking at the limitations of what, if you're just doing planning and strategy, no worries, because it's just for your eyes only. But just anything, because I said it's internal and external. Anything external, you need to put an extra effort. None of this cutting corner stuff, because you're just gonna lose out in the end. So that's just not going to serve you. And I just say Canva as well. I refer to that. Graphic designers are still needed. But
a good example.
They use Canva, but they know how to use Canva to give you a really good template. Those who have no graphic design experience, knowledge whatsoever, can still botch up a template in Canva.
Yeah, totally can. Absolutely can. Now, we're going to wrap this up in a minute. I did want to just say, so March 12th, we've got this event together. You're going to actually do a live workshop and teaching, which is really exciting. So you're actually going to get people to try and do things, which I absolutely love. So I do recommend everyone, if you're coming to it, that you've got like a window open with ChatGPT as well, so you can get things done, maybe even have some material that you've written before so that you've got it ready to go. And so Leanne's going to come and do that. We're going to have time for question and answers. I've put a link to it in the comments. I'll also put a link to it on the LinkedIn event too, because I don't know if it comes through. But is there anything that you want people to know about that event from your side for them to make sure they're ready for it, Leanne?
Yeah, it would be good to upgrade to ChatGPT 4 just so you can play around some of the extra things we talk about. It's $20 US a month, which, you know, work at your conversion rates, but
Yeah.
it is worth it if you know you're going to use it regularly, 100%. I mean, I've got like Canva Pro and I use it, you know, every week.
Yeah, I use it all the
So
time.
if you know you're going to use it, it's worth it, and you can downgrade at any point if, for whatever reason, you decide to, you know, drop the subscription and invest in a copywriter instead. So, but yeah, that would be good if you can upgrade. And then also, yeah, become prepared. Yeah, with some examples of projects that you can play around with. There will be. I'm very much about allowing work on business time. Like we'll actually have quiet time for you to play around with things and ask questions, because I know just hearing it and then finding the time to then implement doesn't always happen. So yes, there will be time to actually work on your stuff. So, you know, play around with it in the meantime and bring on whatever questions. We'll see what we can answer.
So exciting. And I'm going to be there while Leanne's teaching to field questions. If I know the answer, I can quickly answer it. If it's something tricky, she'll come and do it, or I might bring one up to the stage so she can do that. Leanne is so good at this. I haven't done this brand voice thing either. I'm going to have a little play out of it before I come to the session on March the 12th. But I'm going to be learning alongside you guys too. And I'm really excited because it's an area that I haven't used it for. I've managed to have good results with ChatGPT, but I haven't even tapped on this thing. So I'm thinking it's going to be a really exciting part of it. So thanks so much for today, Leanne. I've really enjoyed this. And I'll make sure that people who couldn't come today, that they've got a link so they can kind of see who you are as well. Because while you're well known in Australia for your ChatGPT-ness, over here across the ditch, we're just embracing we're embracing and elevating you as the ultimate.
I'll be coming away. If you want me to come, do some training, I'm open to, it'd be awesome. I've been in New Zealand once. I loved it, but I would love to go back and have an excuse. I've got training. I have to go.
Yes, my goal for Australia as well. Yeah, I've got a speaking gig hopefully in August, and that's definitely going to be one of my what a shame. I've got to go over there for a speaking gig. Maybe take on some other stuff.
So follow me on LinkedIn as well. You see Leanne Shelton. I think I've got non-techie ChatGPT trainer or AI trainer, whatever I got now. In marketing is like my main space because that is my background. I occasionally train other stuff, but marketing, I get it, and I'm not going to go outside what I know. And there's so many ways you can use it effectively for marketing anyway. Follow me. I've got something exciting to announce next week too, that a new offering that I think a lot of people will love, low-cost offering. So stay tuned. That's a little teaser for you. But this is great, Rachel. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And everyone, hopefully we'll see you on March the 12th. Looking forward to it.